Hello everyone, thanks for joining us for our webinar on e-commerce integration by eBridge Connections. My name is Mark Sferrazza. I'm the marketing manager with eBridge Connections, and I'm joined here with Mike Atafamo, our technical sales engineer, who's going to be demoing our product and answering any questions that you may have. So feel free to submit any questions and go to webinar as we move along with the presentation, and we'll be happy to answer them at the end of our webinar. So just to give you a little bit of background about eBridge Connections, we were founded in 1993, and we're traditionally involved in EDI integration between trading partners and accounting systems. However, over the last decade, e-commerce has been our primary growth driver. And we currently have about 2,500 customers worldwide and a countless number of industries and sectors. We also have a dedicated team of about 50 employees, and it's also important to note that we don't outsource any of our development. It's all in-house. So what separates us from our competition? Well, one of the major points is that we have hundreds of connections that can be easily deployed for your custom solutions. So we don't charge for any upgrades, and our new cloud-based ePortal application will help to ensure that you're always up to date with the latest connection configurations. So just to get an idea of how many transactions you do, we want to take a quick poll. So we want to know what's your weekly volume of your orders for your web storefront. Okay, great. So it looks like most of you have over 100 transactions. You might have thousands of transactions, and then there's also a few of you out there that have less than 25 transactions per week. Well, one of the major benefits of using our software is that we don't charge any fees per transactions. This means that you have an unlimited number of transactions and you pay a fixed price. So one of the things that eBridge prides ourselves on is having a strong relationship with our related software publishers, such as Microsoft, Sage, and Intuit. We've also partnered with CRM partners like Salesforce and e-commerce hubs like Magento. The underlying goal of these partnerships is to remain current with all the latest software applications and accounting packages in order to ultimately keep our end customers current. So we're one of the only vendors that support such a wide variety of accounting packages, EDI connections, and web stores. So whether you're using like a Magento, a Volusion, ASP.NET Storefront, Viva Merchant, or eBay, we support all of these web stores, as well as several accounting packages like your Microsoft Dynamics, Intuit, Sage, Peachtree, to name a few. So now I'm going to show you a great tool that we have on our website called the Blueprint. And I'm going to navigate to that right now. You can reach us at www.ebridgeconnections.com/blueprint. So this tool gives you an insight of how to integrate your accounting package with your web store. So I'm going to do a quick demonstration here. So I'm going to select Microsoft Dynamics GP version 10. And now I'm going to select my web store. So for instance, I'm going to select eBay web store. I'm going to select it. And what's really cool about our system is that you can integrate to multiple web stores. So now I'm going to add another web store. So say you are selling products on both eBay and Viva Merchant. You can actually integrate both at the same time. So once you've selected your integration package as well as your accounting package, you can view your touch points. So I've clicked View Touch Points, and now I can select something like my inbound inventory from my eBay store, and then your outbound inventory on Microsoft Dynamics GP. And then you can go back to your solution, and you can look at your touch points for Viva Merchant. And again, it's the same thing. So inbound inventory to outbound inventory. So now I'm going to bring it over to Mike Catafimo, and he's going to talk about our ePortal architecture.
All right. Thanks, Mark. So what I'd like to do is just give you a sense of what our system architecture looks like that allows us to achieve this type of solution. So I'm here on our eBridge Connections homepage, and oops, sorry. I'm going to switch back here. That's the one. Sorry about that. So this is our system architecture, and there's two major components to our solution today. There's the eBridge ePortal component, which is hosted on our servers and handles all of the connections to these external shopping carts, CRM applications, and EDI trading partners. So we do all of the heavy lifting in terms of communications and data mapping to each of these specific sales channels. The second component that we have in the solution is this eBridge software application that gets installed on our customer's side next to their accounting or ERP system. And that's specific to the version of the system that they're running. So in this case, we're going to continue with the Microsoft Dynamics GP10 solution, and we're going to look at that. And at that level, we are also able to put in business rules that allow us full manipulation and flexibility over that data before we bring it into the accounting or ERP system. And for anything we're sending back outbound to the sales channels or to the web store, we can pre-process that data any way necessary so that we can concatenate fields together. We can put in business rules or logic based on some key pieces of information, such as if the customer is in New York State, charge sales tax, otherwise don't apply sales tax. So we can get as granular as we need to in order to make the solution work for you. And unlike some of our competitor solutions, the links between the web store fields and the accounting or ERP fields are not fixed. We have full flexibility over that, and that's something that might not have been apparent, but you might have caught on to when Mark was showing the blueprint builder. We actually selected the specific touch point on the accounting ERP side, which was outbound inventory, and then we linked it specifically to the product update or product creation on the web store side. So we have full control over that data in between the two platforms. And that can be done on a system-by-system basis. So, you know, how you handle the business rules for your web store might be a little bit different than how you handle the business rules for your CRM application or your EDI partner. We're very flexible in how we assemble the solution. People often ask, what can the eBridge solution do? Well, what we have are some pre-built components that allow us to integrate with all of these shopping carts and web stores, and we also have pre-built components to allow us to integrate to the accounting and ERP system, and then how we assemble that solution and how we build it is really dependent on what your business process looks like. So we try to avoid as much as possible telling you what you might need to change to use our solution. You tell us how you operate, and then we configure the solution to work for you. And that's really one of the major advantages of the eBridge solution. So what I'd like to do is take you very briefly into the eBridge ePortal component, which is the hosted component accessible through the internet, and we'll have a quick look at that. And then I'd also like to take an order from a web store and import it into Microsoft Dynamics GP, and that is done using the eBridge client application. That's the part that gets installed on your site. And I'm just going to do that very briefly so you can get a sense of what the solution looks like as we dive a little deeper into the two components. All right. Bear with me one moment here. All right. So ePortal which again is the hosted component of the solution that connects to the web stores, is accessible through the eBridge corporate homepage. And I'm just going to go to client login, and that's ebridgeconnections.com. And the main area of focus today is going to be under the transactions menu option. Now what's loading here is your inbox. And you can think of this a lot like web-based email, except instead of email messages, we're looking at business transactions. Primarily in the inbox for WebStore, we're going to be looking at orders. What I just want to point out briefly here is that we have a number of different orders from different sales channels. We have a Magento web store. Ingram Micro is an EDI partner. Of course, eBay is, needs no explanation. It's a popular popular auction platform. Target is EDI. Miva Merchants, another e-commerce store. ASP.NET Storefront, another web store. Salesforce is the popular CRM application. So we're taking all of the business data coming from all of these different channels, and we're filtering it in through one inbox. And you can have as many of these as you like coming in through the eBridge integration solution and make that available on the accounting ERP side, and we can do whatever you like with that data, whether it be create an order or update inventory, whatever it happens to be, that the touch points, depending on which touch points are supported by both systems. So I'm going to be focusing on the Miva Merchant order, and that's the one we're going to be putting into the Microsoft Dynamics GP system. Very briefly, I want to just show you a couple of features of ePortal. One is by clicking on the document number, which is usually the order number, we're presented a formatted view of this particular order. And this will just take a moment to render here. So at a glance from anywhere in the world, you can log in and see every order that's flowing through our platform. And you can see the order number up here in the top left, buyer order number. You can see the bill to, ship to information, the item information, what SKU was ordered, the quantity, the prices, the total. If there's any other supplemental charges, taxes, or anything else that was calculated as it come down from the web store, we can make that available here. The other thing that I wanted to show, and that's available for all of the documents. The other thing I wanted to show is that, or explain, is that the ePortal solution will take data that's in a proprietary format from all of these different solutions and will standardize it according to what type of document it is. And I mentioned that all of these are orders. And not to get too technical, but I wanted to illustrate for the people who are a little more technical savvy what I'm talking about. If you click the document in view, you're going to see a copy of the raw data we're getting from the web store, untouched by our system. So if there's ever a question of what information we have available to pass through to the accounting system, you can click on here and see what information is available. So this happens to be a sample order file, which is the Miva Merchant example. If we click on eBay, my browser needs some updating. Let's click on, instead, one of the EDI orders, and you can see that that source data is very different. So that happens to be the target EDI data. Now, if we look at what eBridge makes available to the accounting system after it's processed, let's click on that target EDI order again. You'll see some XML code. And you don't need to understand necessarily what you're looking at, except for the fact that when we now click on the Miva Merchant again, you'll see that it has the same structure. So what that means is the data coming into ePortal is all in its own proprietary format, but by the time we pre-process it and make it available to the accounting system, it's standardized into this common data format. And what that means for you is that when it comes time for us to implement this project on your side, we can have one data mapping for orders, and you can have orders coming in from Salesforce and Miva Merchant and eBay and Amazon, and you don't need to do an independent one-to-one data mapping between all of these combinations. And so that really saves a lot of time and cost and allows us to roll these out more quickly. So that's a huge advantage that might not be apparent unless we look at some of the nitty-gritty here. But what I should mention is that all the data and all of the orders we get in through ePortal is automatically processed and made available as an integration file for the accounting or ERP system. So everything we're looking at here today is really optional for you to come in and look at. There's no release button that says, I now want to make this available to the accounting system. It sits in your ePortal mailbox, and it's available until the on-premise application that's installed on your side, which is the second component that we talked about that we're going to look at next, actually pulls that order down from your mailbox file and puts it into the Dynamics GP system. So I'm going to do that now. We're going to, again, use the Miva merchant order, and we're going to flip over. And now if you imagine that we're on your system there, behind your corporate firewall, and the eBridge application is installed by our team here. In most instances, we'll configure it, make sure it's all working for you, and get you up and running live so that you don't need to worry too much about the technical side of things. So the main workflow in this application, if I'm running it manually, which I am today just so I can show you what's happening, is to go under the Process Inbound Run tab. And I'm just going to click the Start button here, and that's going to initiate the download and import process of this Miva merchant order. In production, we would most likely automate this so the clicking of the Start button would happen, say, every 15 minutes, for example, or every couple of hours. Whatever best meets your business needs, we can configure this process to run on its own independent schedule from some of the other processes we might have running, such as sending inventory quantities back to the web store. So every single action is configurable according to its own schedule. So I'm just going to go ahead and click the Start button here. And since we are a certified gold development partner of Microsoft and Sage, we adhere to the best practices for integration. And what happens here, every time we run a transaction or an inbound process, a log file is produced. Sorry, I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. And this is stored in a database that you can access. We can email this report to you every time the process runs, or only if there's exceptions in it. And I did leave some warnings in this posting process just to illustrate the fact that there is communication back and forth as we're creating that order in the accounting and ERP system. We're not just forcing the data in, there is some communication. And in this instance, these types of warnings that we're looking at happen to be non-critical warnings that still allow us to post the order. In this instance, the unit of measure for one of the items is not valid according to what's set up in the accounting or ERP item master tables or inventory tables. So what is happening is the Microsoft Dynamics GP is saying, for this item that you're trying to post, I know that's not the correct default unit of measure. I'm going to substitute or set what I know is the correct unit of measure. Now that's something that our implementation team works with you to make sure it's clean and that doesn't happen when you go live. But I wanted to leave it in there to illustrate that there is communication back and forth and that there's some intelligence with the solution, that we're not just, as I said, forcing data into the system. You can see that we have other options, and a lot of the options, or some of the options I should say, depend on the accounting system that we're working with and what the flexibility of that system allows us to do. The Microsoft Dynamics GP is going to allow us to do some things that the QuickBooks solution may not let us do, and vice versa. Pricing validation is one thing that we have for all of the solutions across the board, so we can compare the price of each item coming in on the order with the price in the accounting system, and if it differs, we can highlight that as a warning. We can make that a hard stop error. Whatever you need as part of your business process, we can make that happen. At the end of the day, we can also choose which price should be used. So we can say, hey, there's a price discrepancy here. Let's show a warning in the log file, but we still want the order to post. So if there is a discrepancy, should we use the order price then, or should we use the accounting price? And we can set that as a global option and then override it on a customer-by-customer basis. So you may be running a B2B and a B2C business through your e-commerce store. You can, if you allow your B2C customers pay one price and the B2B customers pay a different price, maybe that's not displayed on the website. It all depends, again, on how things are configured for you. We can, on a customer-by-customer basis, select the accounting price as opposed to the price that was selected during checkout. Ultimately, we're interested in the fact that we've created an order, and you can see the PO number is displayed here, 1008, and that corresponds with the MIVA merchant order number that we saw, 1008. And if we flip back and forth between some of the details on the MIVA merchant order, such as the quantity ordered and the unit prices, so we ordered 1 Samsung and 3 pencils. If we head over to Dynamics GP and we pull up that order, which I will do really quick, and we're interested in orders. And we can see up in the top right corner here, we have the PO number. We have the PO number that we've stored in here, and we have the quantities 1 and 3 for the items with the unit prices 199 and 12, which we got passed through from the e-commerce order. And if we look at the line item details, we'll see the Samsung and the pencil. And we know how to create the order in the accounting system. It's up to you to let us know what additional information might need to go where. For Microsoft Dynamics GP, for example, there's some user-defined fields. You might want some piece of information from the web store to go into one of those fields. This is where we make the solution unique to you and your business. So whatever information you need to be put into the accounting system, wherever it needs to go, you let us know, and we can map it into those fields so that it facilitates your fulfillment process, just as if you had manually keyed this in. And this is really what sets it apart from most solutions where you have a fixed data mapping. So that's how we get orders into the accounting system. Very briefly, I just want to touch on extracting information, and that's done through an outbound process. And we would have, again, a separate set of actions that allow us to send, for example, in this case, inventory quantity back to the web store. And again, this is something we will configure for you and test and make sure it's all working. This will allow us to retrieve all of the inventory from your accounting system. And if we just want to send some of the information back, say we only want to update the quantities for these several items, we can select them and click export. Or we can automate that as well so that we can send all of the information back, and perhaps we filter it using some inventory export, some data associated with the inventory itself that comes out of the accounting tables. So we, again, can get very granular with how we filter the data and construct business rules about regarding which data to include or exclude from the transmission. So if I were to be sending this back to the web store, we can highlight it, click the export button. That will reverse the workflow whereby we extract it from the accounting system and send it back through our ePortal integration platform and ultimately back out to the e-commerce shopping cart to be updated. So that, at a very high level, is the eBridge integration solution and a little bit about how it works and what it looks like. And at this point, I'd like to turn things back over to Mark, and we're going to continue.
Okay, so thanks, Mike, for that information. So before we wrap this up, we're going to give you a minute to submit any questions that you might have with regards to our integration solutions. And also, while you're doing that, please feel free to submit our poll, and we would like to know, what is your time frame for your integration needs? Okay, great. So I see that a lot of you are unsure of when you'll be looking for integration, but there's some of you who are looking for it immediately. So feel free to contact us at any time with regards to questions that you might have. We'd be happy to answer anything. So you could reach us by going to our website or by phoning our 1-800 number. And also, we remind you to please check out our blueprint builder at ebridgeconnections.com/blueprint. So we are going to take a couple of questions here. So to start, we have a question from Frederick. Does a connection to the ERP system, like Microsoft Dynamics AX, go through the business logic, or is it a direct database connection?
Sure. So it all depends on what tools are available by the software publisher in terms of exactly how we connect. For Dynamics AX, we use the business connector. Some accounting systems, like QuickBooks, we will use their published SDK. That's the preferred method for third-party integration. I can say that there are some accounting systems that we do a direct database connection. So it really depends on the ERP or accounting system we're working with, and sometimes it depends on the version. We've been in business since 1993, and we've been doing integration since then. So, you know, it may have been that some of the earlier connections would have been a direct connection, and then the software publisher may have enhanced third-party integration and made a new tool set, an API or an SDK available to us. So it really depends on the specific version of and the accounting system that we're working with. I see there's another question here that says, can you change the GL account for a product based on a rule? Again, that's going to be very accounting specific. In general, we have quite a bit of flexibility over what we can do with the data mapping. So there's a couple of areas where we can control the business logic. For the most part, it's going to be in the data mapping. If there's something that we can't handle in the data mapping or through some of the global configuration options for that accounting or ERP system, it is possible for us to make an enhancement to the adapter. So we build and maintain everything in-house here, and if somebody creates a custom table or some custom fields that don't exist as part of the vanilla deployment of that particular package, we can absolutely modify the adapter to hit those tables if necessary. Obviously, we want to make sure we keep it cost-effective for you, and sometimes, you know, doing custom programming can cost a little bit more than the standard solution. So we're going to explore all options before we resort to customizing the adapter. But that's absolutely possible and something we do on a fairly regular basis. Okay. If I have an order that is from Amazon for a product and an order from eBay for the same product, I would like that item in Peachtree to go to two different GL accounts. So again, this has to do with how we can configure things on the accounting side. I can't recall off the top of my head if we can set the separate GL account based on some business rule specifically for Peachtree. We support about 40 accounting systems. So I will follow up on that and get you the answer to that question specifically. But I can say that if necessary, if you're running multiple accounting or ERP companies, we do have the ability for the eBridge solution to connect to those companies independently. So if you have two Peachtree companies, we can have two completely separate eBridge solution databases that connect to those independently, so that, you know, you have a separate set of customers, obviously separate inventory. Most of the time, I believe we can set the GL account, but I would have to check for Peachtree.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, so one more question before we wrap up this presentation. The next question is, do you make the connections into the e-commerce platform based on standards within the e-commerce platform, or do you make custom connections, or both?
That's actually an excellent question. For the connections that we have built as you can navigate to our blueprint, for the e-commerce stores, we've built connectors based on their specifications, more specifically their published API. So it's built for them. Now, if we haven't built a connection for a particular web store, or you want to connect to some proprietary system that's completely different than something we're offering, maybe it's not CRM or web store or EDI, our ePortal integration platform has an open API that you can have access to that allows you to exchange data through the platform and ultimately integrate into and out of your accounting or ERP system. One example I can give you is that we had an inquiry from another company that does billing, and so they have an invoice reminder system, and their customers would log in and key in invoices, and they would, gently remind all of the companies that owe money that you have outstanding payables. It would provide a link to pay those invoices, and they were looking at taking invoices from the accounting and ERP system of their customers and importing them directly into their system. So that was an option where we weren't necessarily in that instance going to build a specific connector to their platform, but we said, here's the API and here's how you can work with ePortal. You're welcome to pick up invoice data from our platform and integrate it into your proprietary billing system. And that's something really, at that point, the sky's the limit. So any type of data that you might want to exchange externally that you might want to bring in and out of your accounting system, we can do.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, we're going to be wrapping up this webinar. Again, we'll be answering any questions that weren't answered through email. Please feel free to send us any more questions at sales@ebridgesoft.com. Thanks for viewing our presentation, and have a great day.